Namaskar, Jai Hind. Now we have assembled today for an in-depth discussion on the archipelago of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The famous archipelago, which is being called as Kalapani by most of our Indian citizens who have not visited it or who are not aware about how strategically important or how biodiversity it is a very big biomass which we have not visited. It hosts about 500 plus islands, though only about 37 to 40 of them are inhabited. But then there are certain tribes whom we have not had any human contact with, but slowly and steadily the movement of mainland people and defense forces and other administrative structure has moved in. Over a period of time, the islands have become a very, very prominent base to host the first tri-service command. Tonight, we have on our panel two best minds available who can give us a better and in-depth study and knowledge about these plays. To welcome, I take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Vijay Kanti, a veteran journalist who has been an author on Tibet and Dalai Lama, and his book on Dalai Lama, The Soldier of Peace, has been widely acknowledged across the world. He is an avid photographer, has been associated with BBC, Voice of America, and India Today. And his base home state is Kashmir. So no other person to understand what has been the implication of China on our mainland and how we can counter it through the usage and leverage of Andaman Nicobar we are going to discuss. On the other side of the panel, we have a geologist, a strategic thinker, and a professor, I call him Mr. K. Siddharth, who is going to give his insight on Andaman Nicobar. So I welcome both of you now, and I request you to, Kanti sir, to start with your starting opening address on the importance and significance of Andaman Nicobar.
Thank you. Thank you. Wing Commander Sushil Kumar, thanks for this kind introduction. As you said it, Andaman Nicobar has suddenly come on India's mindscape, and not only India's mindscape, actually on the mindscape of international strategies, and especially those countries who are very keen to maintain rule of law, especially in the seas, in the South China Sea, in the Indian Ocean, in the Pacific, because of unfortunate conduct of China, the belligerence we are noticing for last many years, the way it is practically invading all littoral states of South China Sea, claiming that as if South China Sea means it is China's sea. And it's creating so much problem for India because of its occupation of Tibet. So that has given, that has made countries and governments to sit up and think that to meet belligerence of China, how we should identify those soft points or soft bellies of China, where we can independently, countries can do it, or jointly. They can put leverage so that common sense and good sense can be brought back into China's mind. So in that case, for that reason, Andaman Nicobar has emerged as one of the most potential lever points from where you can control China. For very simple reason is that Andaman Nicobar is sitting in the center of three seas, Bay of Bengal, Andaman Seas, and Indian Ocean. And more than that, it is sitting on the mouth of Malacca Strait you just now mentioned. And because Malacca Strait is a gateway to China's economic power and naval power. So if those friendly governments, the like-minded governments are somewhere present strongly at the mouth of Malacca Strait, you can bring in good sense to China. So that has made Andaman Nicobar quite prominent in the overall strategy of many countries. So that is the major point. Of course, we are going to discuss many other aspects.
Dr. Siddharth, I'd like to have your opening statement on Andaman Nicobars.
Well, Jewish strategy apart, Andaman Nicobar happens to be very, very unique, exceptional, extraordinary, and whatnot. You said it rightly, it's a group of 572 islands on the earth. If anywhere there is a volcanic activity taking place in India, and the one place that can actually go on to erupt in the form of a live volcano, it is going to be in Andaman and Nicobar. And that is a sight to behold. That's one uniqueness of it. Andaman Nicobar is significant from a geological angle because it lies in the subduction zone. Now that means that is a place geologically is so significant that you can go on to have billions of barrels of petroleum in that region, and that is sitting on so much amount of petroleum that it can go on to make India a superpower of sorts. India, for some reasons, some region is not able to take care of it right now, but a time will come when India will start doing it so as well. The third is that this is also one of those regions through which, can you imagine all the cyclones, all the tropical cyclones from Pacific Ocean go on to pass through. Now it is this remnant of the Pacific cyclones, Pacific typhoons, which are responsible for triggering monsoons, which are responsible for triggering rains in India. And most of the rains in South India and the coastal regions go to take place during this time. And because of these, if something happens, let's say you happen to drop the water temperature in these regions, then you go on to inhibit the formation of tropical cyclones, and there can be so much amount of a catastrophe that can go to take place in the whole of the country. If somehow you go on to, like we're going to say, if you go on to hold the rivers of India, which are not able to deposit themselves in the Andaman Sea by linking of the rivers, can you imagine? You will go on to increase the salinity to such an extent that the monsoons will go on to be devastated forever, and they will keep on crying for it. Now, that is where climate is going to be significant for Andaman and Nicobar. Andaman and Nicobar is from a perspective of biodiversity, it is the island. It is one of those hotspots of the whole of the world, with some type of creatures that you can't imagine. For example, this is one of the places, if you want to find butterflies, don't have to go to any place at all in the world. It is going to be Andaman and Nicobar. Butterflies is what you're going to find it. All the butterflies come from Indonesia, and they're going to inhabit this region. They're going to make a party, and they're going to have a hay time in this region. This is also one of those places where you're going to find the largest crab in the whole of the world, coconut crab that you're going to be calling it. This also is a place where you're going to find the largest turtle in the world, over which you can actually go to sit and take a ride if you want to do it so. And also the home of the smallest turtle in the world. That is so small that you can go to fit yourself in the palm as well. This is also one of those reasons, and that is significant largely because biodiversity is going to become a weapon for the countries in the coming period of time. That is, for shell fishing, this region is going to be having no parallels in the entire of the Indian Ocean. No place in this place can go to match with it. Andaman Nicobar is an extension of India's exclusive economic zone, with 30% of India's exclusive economic zone is contributed by Andaman Nicobar Islands. Now, can you imagine so? With so much amount of a cloud and with a continental shelf and with a sedimentation that has been taking place in the Andaman Sea for so long a time, it is an oil deposit that will go on to baffle a good number of people in this region. Andaman's southern point is, of course, close to Indonesia, only 150 kilometers. The most exceptional characteristic of Andaman Nicobar Islands happen to be its tribal group of people. Now, these tribal group of people happen to be living in the same manner the way they used to be 6,000 years back. And that is what we're going to be calling it. Uncivilized world goes into be talking about it, calling these civilized people as uncivilized, that they are this living in a stone age. But then they're going to live truly as per the nature and the natural adaptations of it. I'm going to give you an example. In the last tsunami, The Car Nicobar and the Nicobar air base was completely destroyed, having a state-of-the-art equipment in that region. But imagine, not a single tribal was affected by it. They could go to sense it, and they ran to a higher background, and all of those were saved, completely saved. Now that is what you're going to call it as living with nature in this case. Andaman Nicobar is an unthinkable aircraft carrier. You can go to extend India as a region all the way towards the southern seas, and there is no place in the whole of the world that can go to give such a strategic heft and depth, as well as a cloud as Andaman Nicobar single-handedly can go to give it to India. 10 degree of his channel is what exactly goes to connect Andaman Sea with the China Sea, with Malacca Strait, and then North Coco Islands goes on to be near to that of Myanmar, and so on. So from the locational angle, from a geological angle, from a biodiversity angle, from a defense angle that you talked about, that is, it has 5 different maritime boundaries converging in this region. And there is no place in the whole of Indian Ocean region, Indian Ocean Rim region, where you're going to find 5 countries' maritime boundaries converging in that place. And of course, it is India's only tri-service command that you have talked about so far. And last, of course, and not exactly the least, that is the last 3 of them. It is the springboard of India's look east. If India has to look for its Southeast Asian neighbors, only Andaman Nicobar Island can go to help us in this case. So in order to have a clout over these regions, Andaman Nicobar are going to be significant, and that's the only place where an island development agency has been existing to such an extent that it is a combination of defense, combination of strategic affairs, combination of economic development. And the day Island Development Agency goes to take its complete shape, Andaman Nicobar will not be the same. This is what is Andaman.
That was a lovely introduction by Mr. Kranti and Professor Siddharth. And I think nothing has been left. And only one thing which has been left is we didn't discuss the coral reefs. Rest all issues have been touched upon, and coral reefs were the only thing which were left, which is a beauty to see, and it speaks about the rich biodiversity which this archipelago has got in its hidden in its belly. Coming to this, now after this lovely introduction and in-depth analysis, I'll request both the panelists to speak and touch about the significance of these islands and how we can use it as a fulcrum or a leverage against the Chinese belligerents up north, either in Ladakh or in South China side. So I'll start, and I'll request Mr. Kranti to take the mic first, and then Siddharth, you can come in.
Yeah, you know, since China started its latest edition of invasion into India, immediately after Doklam, now it is Galwan area. Indian government and Indian defense forces are realizing that if we keep our focus with China of all our disputes only limited to the borders and the military confrontation, that is not going to be a very wise game, because although in last 60 years, especially after 1962, India woke up to its defense needs. Even if it woke up, we were very slow. And all these years, we tried to gain some ground and mass up some strength. But still, when we compare our military overall capabilities vis-a-vis China, there is a big difference. We'll have to admit it. It is there. Because in last 60 years since China occupied Tibet in 1951, and in the history, first time crossed over right up to Indian borders. And in 1951, when they occupied Tibet, this border, from which was for thousands of years Indo-Tibetan border, overnight it became India-China border. And since then we are seeing the belligerence of arrogance, aggression of China on our borders. So far, Indian government's policy has been that let us talk to China, bring some sense to their through discussions. Nehruji did his best, uh, and the later governments also tried, but we discovered they are a very different kind of people. And now they have proven beyond doubt that China is not a country with whom you can deal with only through dialogue. They are the people who only understand one language, and that is strength. So now India has reached that final conclusion that China has to be balanced somewhere far beyond the Himalayan borders and far beyond the military comparison or holding them. So that is why India has been very, very active these days in last at least 5, 6 years to identify uh, those spots in the underbelly of China where we can really we can hit them and it will work. So there are many other things. Today we are not discussing those points. We'll be focusing on
Yes.
Andaman Nicobar because Andaman Nicobar is one of the most potential points which has the possibility, probabilities, capacity of changing the entire course of India-China relations. So far, India has been on the receiving end. And once whatever is happening in Andaman Nicobar now, Indian government is realizing its potentials. The way countries like, the Quad has emerged as a source of strength. You are a defense person, you understand it far better than me. That
We
Quad,
have offered refueling facility to the American aircrafts over there nowadays. The
exactly.
ships are berthing there and they're conducting exercises over there.
Yeah. So Quad is that group of countries, America, Japan, India, and unfortunately, Australia had walked out of fear or whatever love affair of Kevin Rudd, their prime minister, who was a leftist. In 2007, he came to power. In 2008, he walked out Australia from the Quad. So Quad became a bit weak, but now they have understood. They are realizing their mistake, and the way they have been pleading with all the members to take them back, and now they are back as a very respected member of Quad, a very potential member. So now you will see Quad is going to come up as a source of strength to show its place to China. So Andaman Nicobar is the best, one of the best bases of Quad. Of course, Quad is going to function from many points, but it appears today that Andaman Nicobar is almost going to be like their headquarters. And there are many strategists who believe that Quad is going to be the NATO of Asia. And Andaman Nicobar is going to be its base because of its location on the mouth of Malacca. And Malacca's importance from this point of view that China, all its movement from South China Seas to the rest of world, especially towards Asia, towards Africa, towards Europe, towards Middle East, is exclusively through the Strait of Malacca. And if Quad is present there, then China, whose oil imports, raw material imports from Africa, from Asia, from Middle East, 60 to 80% of those imports pass through Malacca and then via South China Sea reach China, and that is how their industry runs. So now all these countries have realized that if China doesn't understand the language of law-based relations and peaceful coexistence, then they are going to be taught a lesson. You just block their passage through Malacca and you will see hundreds of millions, I'm repeating, hundreds of millions of Chinese workers, they will lose work because industries will close. Their orders, import exports orders are going to almost close. The industries will stop functioning and hundreds of millions of Chinese workers will be on the street. And then you can imagine, you don't need America, you don't need India, you don't need Vietnam, you don't need Japan, you don't need Taiwan. It is the Chinese workers who will give a bleeding nose to the Communist Party of China and people like Xi Jinping. This is what has to be done. So Andaman Nicobar has that potential to put in sense in the Chinese mind. And whatever arrogance, belligerence, aggression China has started using force against Japan, against countries like Vietnam, even small country like Brunei, and then Australia, then Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia, all these countries.
Myanmar also is trying to do
Myanmar.
it.
So they are sick of China now. And once Malacca Strait becomes a chicken neck in the hand of these friendly countries of Quad, China will have to behave. Then you will see peace in the South China Sea. You will see peace in the East China Sea. And it will in a big way guarantee peace on the Indian Himalayan borders. So I look at Andaman Nicobar as a very big source of solution to bringing or re-establishing law-based international behavior, which China has rocked the boat very badly. So I see that Andaman Nicobar has that potential, and India is going to be a major player because of its Andaman Nicobar Islands.
Dr. Siddharth, your point of view now on this?
See, as I understand it and see, I'm going to begin from a historical perspective and of course from the line where Vijayji has left it all in all. That is, we are very much engaged on the northern borders. Agree? But has anyone given a thought, why is it that we are engaged in the northern borders? It's a ploy. It's a ploy largely because unless you go on to be getting engaged in the northern borders, you will start concentrating on your navy. You will start concentrating on you being a sea power. You will start concentrating on your islands. You will start concentrating on your coastal area there. I just going to give you an example. That is, India was always a major naval power throughout the entire of the history. During the Chol period, it was a naval power to such an extent that is near Malacca Strait. If they used to see a ship, Chinese vessel, they used to threaten them. Next time I go to see it, I'm going to drown it here. So stay out of it. That was during Chol period when the whole of the world was going through so-called dark ages of education. The world was not able to understand anything at all. Second was that is you could take the example of Raja Mahendra Varman from Kerala. Now he was single-handedly responsible for destroying the might of the Dutch to such an extent that Dutch never went on to emerge as a naval power at all. It was only because of the demise of the Dutch as a naval power that the British came into prominence of sorts. So it is a ploy by some of these countries, and this is something that is not understood, that India has to be kept engaged in the northern borders on both northwestern region as well as in the northeastern region as well as the extreme northern borders, so that India does not go to take care of this rim of Indian Ocean. That's one significant part. Because if India starts taking care of 7,500 kilometers of a coastal area and these islands with an extension of its EEZ, then India can go on to make it a minefield of resources and whatnot. India is going to be a supreme power. It was the back leg of India in any case during the British time, and it will again go on to become a lake owned by India during these times as well. The second is it has a certain type of channels. For example, you're going to pick up the case of a 10-degree channel. Now, 10-degree channel is going to be so significant from many angles. And why is it that you're going to see it going to be so significant? Because it connects China with the Andaman Sea to the Malacca Strait. And anyone having a control over 10-degree channel will go on to be having a direct access to any type of movement that Vijayji was talking about. Now, more important is going to be 6-degree channel. Now, 6-degree channel is going to be between India's southernmost point, that we what we're going to be calling it as Indira Point, and that of Indonesia. It is in this 6-degree channel that Americans sent their ship to sail, and that was a super aircraft carrier Nimitz. That is where it was. And it is this 60-degree channel, if it is going to be administered by, managed by India and maybe Indonesia together, and which India is now going to go for it as well, then there is no way that any country can go on to have any type of a command system and any type of a say in the whole of the Indian Ocean, and of course in the Andaman Sea as well in this case. Now we have two of these islands, two of these regions, and two other regions as well. One of them is the Sabah port that is going to be developed on the Malacca Strait. Now Sabah port is going to be very close to that of a 6-degree island, and India is the one country that is developing that port. That sits astride Malacca Strait, and its location is wonderful. If you ask them to, if you're going to ask the Chinese, they will go to say awful. They will go to say it's wonderful of sorts. Now that is what is the difference in the expression. And then you have the Campbell Bay in this region. Now, if this Campbell Bay is going to be, it is extension of an Indian Air Force base in that region that is laced with Sukhoi Mk-30, Mk-1 in this place. And that is going to be having this type of squadron in this region. Who knows it better than Wing Commander? So she is going to be coming to it to ask it. That is laced with BrahMos. And with BrahMos, it can go on to cause something like a massacre in the whole of this region. Particularly, it can go on to take a look at Gulf of Lombok and even Sunda Strait as well in this case. The whole of this place is going to be developed from, it's going to be seeing a development from many different angles. One of them that I happen to know it now, that is INS Kahusa is going to be in the northern region, INS Baz is going to be in the southern region. Then you have Comoros Islands in that place that is going to be so significant. And other than these three developments, we are also going to be talking about extension of the runway in this place. Several jetties are being manufactured in this place. And the Campbell region is going to be developed in the form of a transshipment point. Now, when it goes on to become a break of bulk point, a transshipment point, that will go on to become an economic hub as well. But
so before we come to an end of this segment, sorry to interrupt you, we'll touch the economic aspect in the next segment. We are about to finish the first segment, and I would like to summarize with the strategic and the military point of view and how it has been used in history also. History repeats itself, everybody knows. And Andaman Nicobar Islands were used as a staging point by King Rajendra Chola during 1014 to 1042 against their campaign in Vijayanagar Kingdom, Vijaya Empire of Indonesia. So this is nothing new we are discussing, only we had forgotten about it. And I was witness to the development of Indira Point, which you have referred to. Indira Point is the southernmost point where our Air Force base is stationed. And in the main island, that's where the Strategic Force Command and other headquarters are established. Right from the days when only Avro aircraft used to land there, the subsequent improvements of movement of bigger and middle lightweight transport aircrafts. And finally, I was instrumental in setting up the refueling facilities after the tsunami when Air Force showed its might over there and took its first flight of Su-30s from Indira Point. So we have plans, but then we have been delaying to implement it either because of environmental reasons or there has been a government lethargy of not understanding the strategic importance of Andaman Nicobar. The road development has been stalled. The watchtowers on the other islands bordering Coco Islands have been recommended by intelligence sources for last about 20 years. It's on record. We have had major intelligence warfare with Chinese on the Coco Island when Myanmar handed it over to China. And China has already installed a high-level radar or a listening device station or a monitoring station at Coco Island. Unfortunately, Coco Island could have been ours. But again, tonight is not the night to discuss how it went to Myanmar. Mr. Kranti will agree. It was again Mr. Nehru who will be referring to. So it is known to us that that is a place which can be used as a launching pad. You will save on about 1 hour of flying time of transport aircraft, 2 hours of flying time, and about major fuel load of a fighter flying. And China is also aware. That's why it is trying to develop the road across Pakistan. And it was tying up with Thailand to give them a landmass so that they don't use the 10-degree channel or the Malacca Strait. Because as a logistician, I can tell you their cost of operations will increase nothing less by 30% if Malacca Strait is blocked and if they had to take a detour. So, gentlemen, we come to a close of the first segment, and in the next segment, we will discuss how we can utilize it as an economic or a transport hub or a business hub on the lines of Singapore or a free port or a duty-free hub like Maldives. So one closing, we have only 1 minute, 42 seconds left.
One small part of it. I have been told by good number of defense strategists that there are going to be good number of volcanic islands which go on to be cratered. Now, it is here that you can go to a station, any type of a strategic and tactical location, and that will not be caught by a radar. Now, this is a major advantage that Narcondam goes on to be having it, and almost all of these islands going to be having it, which are rimmed by a crater, because that is what exactly the configuration of this region.
So, Mr. Kranti, your comments, please, sir. Closing comments.
Yeah, I can now visualize that India is rising once again, after a long lull. So I can see now India emerging once again as a naval power as we were in the history. And Andaman Nicobar is going to be the fulcrum of India's new hopes as a naval power, as a military power, as an economic power, and as the central binding force between democratic countries like America, Japan, Vietnam, Australia, Taiwan, and all these countries. India is going to be the hope for them, and Andaman Nicobar is going to be the main source.
Thank you, sir, for a lovely insight. Till we meet in the next segment. Bye-bye.
Right.
Namaskar.
Thank you.